So let's take a look at Kunimitsu's stances. This is the bulk of where her pressure and mix-up comes from, and where most of the dangerous activity is going to take place. This is what you want to set up with everything else that she does. So let's look at what each of these stances do to help you get a better framework for what you want to pick, given the right situation. First up is Setsunagake. I'm going to refer to it as Set, capital S-E-T for short, from here on out for obvious reasons. You can do this by pressing forward 3. All it is this little command dash. But inside this command dash is just a ton of useful things. Set 1-2. She has this high punch string. Now in this game there are 4 different things you can do out of it. Previously there was only the one. You can do 1-2-1, which results in this airborne teleport / mid. You can see this is unsafe. This is -11 on block. You're not going to just do this one because. But 1-2-2 is basically the same thing except she's on the ground, and this one is safe on block. I'm not quite sure what the fundamental difference is, why one is and the other's not, or one of them isn't a high. I'm not sure yet. But needless to say, those are both in there. Set 1-2-2, leave safe on block, because good option there. Set 1-2-3 is the old bound move she used to have in combos. They just changed the input to it. Well, you can see this is also safe on block, so it's a decent option to go for there. This would break floors in a combo since she does that stomp. And there's also set 1-2-4. This one ends in this teleporting flip kick that's plus on block. You'll see that there's 3 different strings that lead to these same extensions. 1-1 has the same set of options afterwards. The Setsunagake versions are not the best versions of them because they conduct that second hit if they're ready for it, and then sidewalk out of there in trouble, but then the whole point of what we're doing is to keep your opponent from being that proactive. So all of these options are all mid, and only one of them is unsafe, so you could just kind of mix these up all on their own and be fine doing it. But that's not all that you have. You have set 2, which is just a mid that's also safe on block. Nice frame advantage on hit, also is a counter hit launcher. This is probably Kunimitsu's best move overall. I think it was in the last game. And I also think it just happens to be better in this game. So set 2, quick little mid strike, very useful overall. Combine that with set 3, which is a low that slides in. This is also a counter hit launcher. So now she has double trouble out of it. Set never had a low before. Now it does have a low. Both the basic mid and lows are counter hit launchers. That's pretty dangerous. This used to be Kunimitsu's down 3. Her regular down 3 was this slide. They moved it into set, which gives it even more range. Like she could just do this from downtown and hit you. Very dangerous. The mid-range of this character, which we'll cover a little bit later, is much more dangerous than you could think. And having something like that to get back in on you is really good. Noticing that's also 0 on hit is pretty good. A long-reaching, crushing slide move like this tends to be negative. You don't get offense from it. But 0, that's pretty good. That is not bad at all. Leaves you in crouching state, which you could stay in if you wanted to, and go low again. So this is a really good move, especially to put it in the set stance. Very nice. We also have set 4. This little mid kick, which I thought was back 4 when the first trailers first started coming out, does pretty much the same thing. She does this swing kick, and it leaves her back turned automatically without you pressing anything. This is good for setting up back turn mix-ups, which is also cool when you start thinking about the layers of mix-ups. We're already talking about a stance full of all these different options. This stance leads into another stance. This is what makes your opponent crazy. So not only is there the safe mid kick that leaves you back turned, there's an extension. She can do set 4-3 that keeps the opponent from trying to challenge in between. This isn't going to be safe on block, but it's there just to keep the mix-up fresh. She has set up forward 4, which now hits the opponent no matter what. This used to just be a hit throw versus airborne opponents. This is how you would end combos, so it didn't do anything unless they were in the air. Now it does this no matter what. It does a nice little chunk of damage, but it's not great damage for the fact that this move is -14. That's a little bit much. You don't want to just do this for the sake of the mid mix-up. You're better off to just go for something else there. But it does exist. It's a cool looking move. You can still use it in combos. They just moved it into a regular hit and made it a little bit riskier. There is 3+4. Set 3+4 does this little flip stance, which is a mini stance that we'll cover in a minute called Musasabi. It only has 2 options out of it, which we'll just cover now. The mid kick 4, and the low 2. That's pretty much all that it does. So in the middle of set, you can do this flip kick and, you know, do nothing, just kind of fake him out, or use that for a way to get another low in there. The last options for attacks out of set stance are the throw. She can do set 1 plus 2, which, if I'm not mistaken, didn't used to do damage in the last game. She used to just flip, and that was it. Now she stabs you and does that. She has that throw, and then there's a 1 plus 4 throw. She runs off your chest and hits you that way. So having throws on top of your mix-up game is really, really nice. She's got safe mids, she's got counter hits everywhere, she's got attacks that lead into other mix-ups, and other lows, and other loops, and then back right into it again. With throws in the middle of it, very, very distracting. The other things worth noting are being able to press down to stop it into crouch, or press back. She can just press back and stop the assault instantly, and stay completely safe doing it. So Setsunagake is a very versatile stance. You're going to get a lot of action out of this for mix-ups, as well as being able to take advantage of the range. When you're playing the mid-range game, to be able to just come back in with this thing and start mixing them up again, very, very dangerous. So let's take a look at the moves that go into set stance by canceling. 2-2-2. You just press forward and go into the stance this way. This whole string is 5 2s long, but it's the third one. 1, 2, 3, and then hold forward goes into this stance. Forward 4 and hold forward. This used to be the only one she had. She couldn't do this any other way but that one. So now there are 5 ways to do it, which is a huge help to keep your opponent from, you know, predicting where it's coming from. This is coming at them from 5 different ways now. It's much, much harder to be prepared for. There's one out of back turn. Back turn 1, 3. Holding forward leads into the stance. This is a pretty nice one too. Not to mention all these get used in combos like crazy. So the more of these you have, the better your combo paths are too. While standing 2-4, she has a 14 frame while standing Punisher that you can also hold forward right into set stance. Very cool option. Also useful in combos as well, you'd be surprised. But a 14 frame, pretty decent Punisher, not so bad, into your set mix up with 11 frames. That's really cool. You like that a lot. And the last option is one of the other stances called Katon, which is 1 plus 2. One of the extensions out of this is just press forward, cancel that stance into set. So very good stance, full of options, counter hits, layers of mix-up. You're going to want to learn this thing inside and out, how to use it, and how to not get caught, right? You don't want to abuse any particular thing and let your opponent be keen to what you're doing. So always got to stay fresh. So let's take a look at that other stance called Katon, 1 plus 2, see what it can do. This one is not quite as universal, but it's got some cool stuff in it that you're going to want to learn how to use. First up is 1. This little 1 seems pretty innocuous, right? It just looks like a basic mid poke. Well, it turns out this thing on counter hit is plus 12. No one was expecting that. So if you're plus 12, you can hit him for 12 frames for free. So that counter hit leads to 46 damage and a back turn mix-up. Her 4-2 string, as we learned in the Punisher section, is 12 frames, automatic back turn. So if you have plus 12, you get that for free, damage, and turnaround. You can get a little more damage by doing forward-forward 4-2. This move can be done in 9 to 10 frames, and it is possible to connect that and get the knockdown from it as well. So 50 damage off of that is a huge chunk for catching one little stray counter hit. It might be better to go for the other option, get 46 damage, and the back turn mix-up out of it. Depends on what you need. If you're close to the wall, you want to go for the back turn mix-up. If you're out in the middle of nowhere, the knockdown is good too. So right away, Cot 1, pretty useful. Just for as a poke tool, if you happen to catch that counter hit, be ready for it. It's not an easy one to do. This one's pretty quick, but once you are ready for it, you'll be popping it out in no time. The next option, Cat 2, is this super evasive slide move. You'll notice this knocks down on normal hit. It's not a low, this is a mid attack, but she goes all the way under everything. Tiny little hitbox, full crouch state, mid attack. This is pretty nice. I like this move a lot, mainly for its evasion properties. If you're going to be using this in the middle of your attacks, stuff like that, they're going to get blown up for trying to counterattack you. Cat 3-2 is a mid launcher. This is a natural launcher, but it is very, very risky. That move will launch, but she's in the air, and she's like minus 17 when she does it. It's a slow startup, so you're not going to like jam them up with it. It's really only for confusion purposes, for mixing them up. When you're going into this stance in the middle of a string, and you don't know what they're going to do, this is your mid launcher. So it is risky, but it is there to legitimize everything else. It's not one of your most favorable mix-ups. So Cat 3-2 is a mid natural launcher, and you could just stop. You could just do the 3 and stop there with your +2 frames on hit, you know? You don't have to finish it if you don't want to. And the counterpart to this is Cat 4-2, which is a low-high string. This is not a natural combo. It is on counter hit. You'll get both of these, but be warned, they will duck that second hit unless they got countered by it. That second hit by itself, however, is a counter hit launcher, causes an automatic screw attack. So there's plenty of ways to use this, but these aren't situations where you're going to get a good counter hit out of it cleanly. It can be a little tough to make them press buttons in that particular situation. But it's there. You can just do the low and stop. Do the cat stance low and then just stop from there. And every so often set them up for the mid. We mentioned how cat forward will take you into Setsunagake. You can do that as in the middle of strings. Go into cat and then right back into set without even doing anything. Very tricky. Long delay in there, but it's enough of a delay that's supposed to keep your opponent wondering what it is. You could also go back turn from this. You can tap backwards to turn around. A little bit of a delay as well, but also super cool looking, so it's worth doing, you know, ninja spin feints to get your attacks in. Or you can press up. You can press up and drop down right in on it. This is kind of just a cool thing to avoid an attack real quick. So that stance not quite as powerful as set is, but it's got its uses, especially since you can go into set from it, make them think about that double layered mix-up. The only strings that go into this that I remember are 1-1. You just press 1-1 and then 1+2 and 2-2. 1+2. So if you're paying attention, the first 2 hits, 2-2, you press both punches to go into cat, you press 3 of them, and press forward to go into set. That's pretty much all that string is going to be good for, is to go into those 2 stances. I spoke briefly about Musasabi, a quick little mini stance that you can do by doing up forward 3+4. All it is this little flip spin. There's 2 options that come out of it. 2 is a low attack that knocks down. 4 is a mid kick that knocks down. That's pretty much all there is. The 2 is pretty bad on block, but it knocks down and gets a nice chunk of damage. If they don't get up correctly or at all, they get follow-up. So that hurts at the cost of being like -18. That's pretty bad. The 4 kick is -14, but she's going to flip away, so it's going to be really hard for people to punish her. This is just kind of like an icing on the cake, as you doing this out in the open is probably not going to get you very far, but the fact that you could do it out of set, as when we mentioned it the first time, is probably its biggest feature. If they're worried about the low out of set stance and you did this instead, you did a different low with different timing, that's kind of what it's for. So Musasabi is very short, that's all there is to it. 2 options, and set 3+4 is the only other way to go into it, outside of just doing it neutral, up forward 3+4. Back turned is the other major stance to talk about. There is a ton of things out of this, super dangerous. It's every bit as good as Setsunagake is. There's one of everything from it. You're going to use this to run most of your pressure from, as well as going back and forth between the 2 and maintaining that flow and those layers of mix-up that we keep talking about. From back turn, she has a 1-2 string, which she always used to have before. But now there are 3 extensions. There's 1-2-1, there's 1-2-2, and there's 1-2-4. And of course, you recognize those from Setsunagake. That's the same thing. The only difference here is these versions, you can step in the middle of it. If you do 1-2-1, they can sidewalk to the right and avoid that 3rd hit. Same with all of these. They don't necessarily track, and it can depend on your axis and distance, character, and stuff like that, whether you can get avoided or not. But if you're going to do back turn 1, 2, and then 4, they can sidestep that 4 pretty cleanly. Whereas the normal version from 1-1, they cannot. That version is much, much harder to step. That mid pins you in there a little bit better. The back turn version does not. So the back turn version, they can kind of get out of that. Just be warned. So back turn 1-2 with its extensions is useful, but can be avoided. So you don't want to focus on that too hard. Back turn 1-3 is a new string. This was added. Also mid-high, just like the 1-2 is. But this string you hold forward and go back into set. That's what its primary function is for, is to go back into set. On block, you go in -1, which isn't the best thing, but it's still usable. If an opponent is ready to stop you, you got to be careful being negative, but -1 is totally fine if you want to use that to run mix-ups. Or you can do it and then slam the brakes, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Back turned 1-3 is a pretty cool little string, goes into set. By itself, you could see it's safe on block at -6. So you could just do it and then turn around. There's nothing wrong with that either. Turn around and go back to basic offense. So 1-3 is kind of cool. Lets you transition into set if you need to. 2-3 is a knockdown string because it's fundamentally the same as forward 2-3. That's the same string just from back turn. Very quick, gets them off your back and knocks down wall splats, screw attack, etc. If you're in a panic mode, that's a pretty good panic move to have. It's very fast. What is it, 12? 12 frame startup. So even if you looked at things like, you know, being -3 when you turn around, and you could do that move, it's still going to trade hopkicks and stuff like that. So it's a pretty good get-off-me tool. It's not invincible. And again, you should always watch when you turn around. If you're negative, you got to be aware of that. It's technically not your turn, but a fast move like that can steal your turn back sometimes. Back turn 3 is this little mid kick. It's very reminiscent of the one you get out of the strings. It kind of looks a lot like that, but this one is just a basic backflip kick. It's only -3 on block, so it's safe. It's a mid knockdown that avoids lows. -3 on block. That's pretty cool. It leaves her back turned on hit or block as well. So even when you do hit them, you have a chance to go for mix-ups right away before they move. So that's a really cool move that you don't think about a lot. You always think about, I got a mid launcher. Why don't I always do the mid launcher? And the reason is you want to keep it fresh. You want to always be doing different options so they never get into a rhythm against you. Every time you go low, you go low, you go low, then you finally go mid, well, you have like 3 different mids you could choose. That just makes the puzzle that much more complex. Back turn 4, the high homing move. Also very fast at 13 frames. This works pretty well for get-off-me situations too. Counter hit, you get that cool little knockdown from it, and it's a homing move very fast. It's very good to have a homing move built into your mix-up situation, because that's the primary way to get out of mix-ups is to try to sidewalk out of there. So having a homing move to shut that down, very, very key. That works well. 1+2 is not quite a homing move, but it's going to have the same effect. Very fast on startup. It spins around and moves forward. They're going to have a hard time avoiding this. This is also very good for quick situations where you go -1 into back turn and that. You can kind of steal some turns with quick moves like this. The 1+2 is a safe mid. Doesn't knock down or do anything. This is a little bit of damage and goes right back into offense again. Forward 1+2 on the other hand, that's your big mid launcher. That's the one that you really want to go for when you know you have them set up just right. You have that. That's your full combo on normal hit and everything. And only -12. I think that's really good. For a natural launcher out of a forced hard mix-up situation with danger everywhere, only being -12 is pretty solid in my opinion. Can't argue with that. Especially in a world where hopkicks are 13. That's 12. I like that a lot. I mean, there's risk, obviously, in going for it all the time. And like I said, the more times you do a different mid, the more times you keep them guessing. So as long as you're doing this, you know, mixed up in between, and you're doing this, going for forward 1+2 gets you that combo, and they might not even be ready to punish it at -12. So you got to mix it up as best you can. It really works out well. The last 2 moves to talk about in back turn are down 2 and down 4. Down 2 is at 17 frames, crushes highs right away. +3 on hit. This is very good all around. This is evasive, lets you get offense, turns you back around. This is a great move. Down 4 is not quite as good. It's slower on startup. You can see it's only +1 on hit, and the damage is the same. So right away, down 2 it outclasses in every conceivable way, except possibly hitbox. You are really close to the ground when you do this move. She is going to evade everything when you do it. So that would be the only real advantage. They're both going to go under highs, but down 4 is going to go under lots of annoying stuff. That's really the only reason you would do that. Otherwise, down 2 is more than good enough. In the last game, this move was awful. It wasn't even a natural combo. They were going to block that second hit every time. In this game, at least it is a natural combo. And the last thing in back turn that really ties the whole room together is having throws. She has a regular throw, which looks like it's a 2-hand grab. Either throw, doesn't make a difference which one you do. The animation is the same. She also has a command throw with 1+4 or 2+3. You get the same result. So that becomes super annoying because now you're thinking about the basic mix-up. Is she going to transition into set? What's she going to do? Command throws with a blind mix-up. You can't tell which throw break that's going to be. That's going to just annoy the crap out of people. There's nothing you can do there. You have to guess on that break or try to interrupt her in some other way and take a proactive stance, right? You can always try to beat them to the punch in situations like that, but man, the risks are heavy when you do that. So having throws is just, it multiplies the annoyance factor. There's so many things when she goes back turn. You can get jabbed, you can get backflip, there's lows, there's mid launchers, there's transitions into set, and now there's a blind throw break. That's a lot to deal with. This is a very strong mix-up stance. You're going to use this a lot. So let's look at all the ways to get into this. You don't want to just, turn around and attack them. You can do that for Oki situations. When you end up a combo, you can run up in front and just turn around that way. Or you can use transition moves. So the first one to look at is 1-2-2. This is her 10-frame Punisher. And if you hold back, she'll cancel that third hit and go into stance. This is the worst one to do it, however. You can see even on hit, I'm -8 in the transition. On block, is 16. So if they're ready to interrupt you, you're getting blown up hard. This is not a good way to do it, but it's fast. It's kind of quick. If they're not really paying super close attention, that's a fairly fast sequence, but it's a big risk. There is a gap in there, and it can get you destroyed. So 1-2-2 is not the best way to do this. Neither is 2-2-2-2-2. That 5th hit you can hold back to turn around. This string is not very practical at all, in my opinion. It can do stuff. The first 2 hits cancel into Katon. Third hit can go into Set. And the 5th hit can go into back turn. But you're never going to hit anybody with these. The counter hit doesn't even guarantee. You're going to be standing there blocking 2 attacks until you do something. And they're going to be ready for that. So I don't like that one necessarily either. Next up is 4-2 though. This is a really good one. This is her 12-frame Punisher that leaves her automatically back turn, hit or on block. So on hit you get that nice +6. You can do whatever you want. Even on block, -3 is plenty of time to turn around or get out of there or do whatever it might be. Parry, if your heart so desires. 4-2 is a really good one. It's a great move all around, and you get automatic back turned out of it. You also get that from both back 4 and set 4. Oops. Set 4. Both are fundamentally the same kick. I thought they were the same kick when the videos first came out. Turns out they're not, but they do the same thing. They turn back automatically if you don't do anything. But back 4 has back 4-3. And set has set 4-3. They both have an extension to keep people from trying to stuff you when you turn around. So back 4 to turn around is also very good. Same thing, you get +6 on hit or -3 or whatever on block. You can retreat. You don't have to always go in. You don't get stuck. You got plenty of time to take what you're given. We mentioned 1+2. The Katon stance can also do this. You can press forward to go into set, or you can press backwards to turn around. That's kind of handy too. You might be able to do that in the open, but that's kind of a delay. This move really comes out of the strings more than anything. There's enough delay that you can get hit there, but it's up to you. If you can work that into the arsenal, go for it. It's just not one of the best options. One of the best options now, though, down forward 3+4. So down forward 3+4 is an excellent mid attack. 2 hits, +7 on hit, and forces crouch. This is only -2 on block, even. Beats lows, and you can hold back to go into back turned. This is excellent move all around. Gets you the mix-up. If you hit them with this and you go back turned, there's nothing they can do. They are trapped like that. This is a really good move overall, as well as a good way to get into back turned. Forward 3-4, which you saw me do by accident. This is that lunging shark attack. Same thing. Hold backwards, turns around. This one's pretty decent. The frames aren't as good, but this is mainly for when you're trying to approach. If you're far away and you want to get back in, you can use that to fly at them and go for your back turn mix-up that way. And the final one is another good one, Sidestep 2. Sidestep 2 works really well. You can press and hold back. You get 1 extra frame to turn around, +6 on hit. But this one has another built-in follow-up. You get 1+2, which checks opponents from trying to be aggressive against you again. That's a running theme with the character, is strings or transitions that the opponent wants to try to press buttons or hop kick you or whatever to shut you down. You have an extension that'll check that. If they know you're going to go for a back turn every time, then you have another option to challenge them. If you go for the extension, you win. So she has tons of that stuff. Always want to remember those. So that's it for Kunimitsu stances. They're very dangerous. Setsunagake and back turned are super dangerous. They have one of everything. Counter hits, lows, command throws, other transitions, you name it. So that's what most of your pressure is going to come from. And everything else that we talk about in playstyle is meant to lead you to that. That's where the payoff is. So everything leads to it, but again, you don't always have to be going for that hard mix-up. You can retreat and run away and live to fight another day. That's totally fine with this character that has good mobility. If you're getting blown up by going for heavy mix-ups, just back off and try something else. You got plenty of time to worry about it and plenty of tools to get right back in whenever you're ready for more offense.